And yes, we are back with yet another part of the series on the mystery airship phenomenon of 1896 and 1897. Let's see what this article says here. It's Plane and Pilot Magazine. All right, let's see what this says. Ghost airships of the 1800s. A mysterious wave of airship sightings took place in the U.S. between 1896 and 1897, and there is plenty of mystery to go around. All right, here, background. In the late 1890s, strange airships started being spotted sailing across the country's skies. While lighter-than-air airships had been around since the 1850s, their capabilities were far more limited, and they were not nearly as big as those being observed. Witnesses described the ship or ships as being 150 to 200 feet long and moving at speeds of roughly 135 to 150 miles per hour. That's not entirely true. I've heard of, well, some witnesses, yeah, but other witnesses describe other like speeds and heights and lengths of these airships. I mean, it widely varies. Airships at the time were generally smaller and only moved at speeds around 5 to 7 miles per hour. Well, that's really slow compared to what other witnesses are saying, huh? The first sighting occurred in November of 1896 in Sacramento, California, when hundreds of witnesses observed a steady light attached to some kind of large vessel pass across the sky overhead. Some say they could hear voices singing from the ship. One witness, R.L. Lowry, told the news that he could hear a man issuing out orders, "Throw her up higher, she'll hit the steeple." According to Lowry, the airship had a cigar-shaped body with wheels at the side and appeared to be powered by two men seated on a bicycle-like frame. And of course, we went over some of this in previous videos, but there's more. There always seems to be some extra details or new details that I keep discovering here, so I find it good to go over. Over the next 6 months, the sightings moved eastward across the country, with reports as far as Chicago. In total, there were approximately 150 sightings in roughly 20 states. Then, in April of 1897, just as suddenly as they had started, the sightings came to an abrupt stop. I'm sure there were still sparse sightings. While many accounts can be written off as hoaxes, mass hysteria, or even the misidentification of astral phenomena, such as comets and meteors, a handful of accounts were credible enough to generate some lift. And the next section says, aliens? For the most part, witnesses describe the occupants of the airships not as human, but as human-like. The first possible evidence for little green men occurred just a few days after the Sacramento sighting. 50 miles north in a town called Stockton, Colonel H.G. Shaw was driving his buggy through the countryside when he stumbled upon a landed spacecraft. Now, we went over this before, but we're going to go over it again. We'll see what this article has to say about it. According to Shaw, the vessel was roughly 25 feet in diameter and 150 feet long. It had a metallic outer surface and, other than what appeared to be a rudder, was completely devoid of any additional external features. He observed 3 strange, slender creatures moving about the aircraft, emitting a strange warbling noise. The creatures approached him and attempted to force him on board, but the colonel, obviously being a strong, brave man, and totally not embellishing his story at all, quickly overpowered them and fled. Another account, a bit out of this world, was reported by the Dallas Morning News the following year in April of 1897, after an airship was spotted crashing into a windmill. This is the, of course, the Aurora, Texas story. The mangled wreckage was described as being a mixture of aluminum and silver, with bizarre hieroglyphic-like drawings scattered about in the debris. The pilot, deceased, was allegedly not an inhabitant of this world. And we went over this before. But what's weird, though, well, here I'll read it briefly here. In 1973, a group of UFO investigators located the crash site, which apparently contained the pilot's grave, marked by a headstone. Their metal detectors picked up evidence of foreign materials under the surface, leading them to request permission to excavate. The request, of course, was denied. When they revisited the location a few years later, the headstone and all subsurface metals were gone. See, that I feel like if you delve into that case further, I almost feel like the government confiscated things there. I feel like something was definitely there. Whatever it could have been. That's just my opinion after researching that particular case a lot. It's the Aurora, Texas, 1897. Okay. Mysterious inventor? The existence of extraterrestrials may be entertaining to mull over, but also tantalizing is the existence of mysterious inventors, creating mysterious things. A San Francisco attorney, George Airship Collins, claimed to represent an anonymous inventor who allegedly conducted his test flights at night in order to avoid detection. According to Collins, the airship was 150 feet long and able to carry a load of 15 passengers. As he told the press, it was built on the aeroplane system and has 2 canvas wings 18 feet wide and a rudder shaped like a bird's tail. But failing ever to produce this mysterious inventor and growing tired of public ridicule, Collins later recanted his claims. While Collins may have been telling tall tales, it doesn't mean that others weren't hard at work building and testing airships. In 1884, a 165-foot battery-powered airship made a successful 5-mile, 23-minute round-trip flight in France. That was in France, though. The flight proved that safely controlling an aircraft was possible with a powerful enough motor. However, its flight range was sharply limited by the battery life. Okay? And its top speed was a mere 6 miles per hour. Well, making it far slower and less robust than the airships being spotted across the U.S. It's definitely something to keep in mind, with this. If we're looking for... Yeah. It is hard to imagine the building of such a giant flying structure being done in secret. Yeah, that's true too. But it's not impossible. Then again, perhaps this was all just impossible. Fake news? If one thing hasn't changed much in the last 150 years or so, it's the media and its lust for sexy headlines. Yellow journalism was in full swing in the late 1800s, with reporters regularly embellishing and even fabricating stories to boost sales. While many people may have truly believed they saw something sailing by overhead, was it really an airship? Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or was it instead something less fanciful, like a comet, a meteor, or even a planet? Unfortunately, the only available witness accounts are those published in the newspapers of the time, making it impossible to parse out fact from fiction. And here's the conclusion. It's possible that at least some of these sightings were the result of an inventor, or possibly multiple inventors, testing controlled powered flight in airships. Even the alien crash report in Texas can be given some weight if you consider the possibility that the so-called extraterrestrial remains were actually a human body burned beyond recognition. Yet the abrupt stop in sightings makes the involvement of multiple inventors unlikely. While the initial airship sighting in Sacramento had enough witnesses and detailed, consistent reports to make it credible, the rest were likely just the product of hoaxes, imaginative reporters, and others filled with hot air. Still, all things considered, there is plenty of mystery left in this one to go around. That's right. There is definitely plenty of mystery and intrigue in this airship phenomenon of those years. Especially in the first sighting, the November 1896 Sacramento sighting, hundreds of witnesses. That one is certainly credible, for sure. That first sighting. That was November of 1896. I'd like to learn all I can about that first sighting, for sure. Hundreds of witnesses observed a steady light attached to some kind of large vessel passing across the sky overhead. They could hear voices and singing. That's some of the witnesses said that. The airship had a cigar-shaped body. Yeah, it's interesting to say they saw something, for sure. And apparently heard things too from it. That is really interesting. So, yeah, I'm just continuing this series here because it fascinates me, and hopefully it fascinates my listeners as well. And we will be definitely be back with more mysterious airship sighting videos. I want to keep delving deeper into this and see what all we can come up with here. And as always, thanks for watching, and I will be back with more UFO videos shortly.